All right, today is tie rod assembly day. So for those of you that might have a little bit of a wobble, and I'm not saying death wobble, a lot of people I think misinterpret death wobble, unless you feel like your life is about to end and every single bolt is going to fall off of your Jeep and the wheels are going to fall off. That's not death wobble. And I experienced that in this Jeep when I first bought it. But when I'm driving and I'm under about 50 miles an hour, depending on the road conditions, I definitely get a lot of play back and forth. If I let my foot off the gas, it usually goes away. I suspected that it was the assembly, and now that I have the whole thing off, I'm almost positive that it is, and the test run will tell me if I was correct. But as you can see in this assembly, this one's pretty stiff, but it grinds. This one here moves very freely. This one grinds and is stiff, so that tells me that it's pretty much locked up, and this one just is completely shot. So the one that went to the pitman arm is really bad, and I fully suspect that that's the reason why I have such bad movement in the steering wheel, that along with all the others, since it's all interconnected. But when I bought this, it was a cheap unit. I bought it from 2A or AA Auto or something like that. It was $160, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this XJ at that point in time. But I have to say, for the price, and since I'm just replacing this now, and with 50 to 60,000 miles on the XJ since I put this in, then it's actually not too bad. But I did go ahead and buy a Delphi unit minus one end. I had to go with Moog because I couldn't find what I was looking for in the price range that I was looking for. And all of these but the one Delphi unit are greasable. So I tried to get everything that was greasable. The two ends on a couple of the old ones are not greasable, and I really don't like that. I mean, they do wear over time, and I'm a believer that as long as you can grease these things regularly, they're going to last a lot longer than a non-greasable one. And working in the automotive industry, I'm more of a firm believer of that. Or I had worked in the automotive industry. So anyway, I am now in the process of just looking things over real quick. Make sure that all of this fits up correctly and that I do have the right threads. I suspect that I do, but I want to double check that before I get too much further, even though I've already got the whole thing off, which doesn't kind of make sense. But I wanted to do a comparison side by side of all the parts, and that way I know if I have to run out somewhere and get something last minute. The only thing that I'm going to reuse are the sleeves on both of these bars. Other than that, everything else is new. So I'm going to go ahead, fit this up inside the Jeep, grease all the parts because none of them hardly are greased other than this one that you can't grease. And hopefully that will be my issue. I won't know until I take it out for a test drive. So another thing on this too, in case you haven't noticed, but I did upgrade to a 96 Grand Cherokee V8 design. This is a solid bar versus a hollow tube that comes on the standard XJ. It worked out really well for me. I couldn't even tell that there was a difference, but it's pretty much a direct fit up, or it actually is a direct fit up. So if you're looking to upgrade your tie rod assembly, I'm not sure what other years are included, but definitely a 96 Grand Cherokee with the V8. And all you got to do is look for those parts under that model year and type of vehicle, and you can buy all this. But just keep in mind that I do believe, like even for your ends, that the threads are either different or different size, so you can't interswap the units. You've got to replace the entire thing from what I understand. But anyway, that's what I did, and that's what I'm doing, so I'm going to get to it. So here it is without the tie rod assembly, and as you might notice, my wheels are still on the ground. I did not jack this up. It does make the job a lot more difficult, and installation is going to be more difficult. But the theory is that it will keep it in the same alignment if I can get everything to fit while it's on the ground. I still need to do an alignment after this, but this way I don't have to do it immediately. That's the theory anyway. I'll let you know how bad everything feels after it's all done, but for the most part, I'm just trying something out. If it doesn't work, no big deal, but I've got the time, so I'll put a little bit more time into this to do it this way and then get an alignment sometime in the future. What? You want me to come in? Yeah? You are such a crier. Alright, so that actually went together a lot easier than I thought it would. I only had to make a very slight adjustment since I had everything put together and greased before I got it up in here. So I'm not going to film just tightening everything down because that's all I'm going to do next. Put in my cotter pins and take this thing for a test drive. So one thing to point out before somebody else does, when I talk about my tie rod assembly, I'm talking about the tie rod as well as the drag link. So the drag link goes to your pitman arm, and then you've got the tie rod, which looks different than the one I just installed. This is an XJ diagram, and I just installed a Grand Cherokee tie rod assembly. So you've got another sleeve over here, and that is the entire unit that I just replaced. So another thing to point out is it's nice to have your torque specs. I've got this booklet here that all my pages are laminated. You can find this stuff online, but I have all the torque specs for most everything that I need to work on. I carry this when I'm traveling, and then I also keep it here in the garage. So I'll find the torque specs for what I just installed, make sure I've got that correct, and finish this up. Okay, everything is back together, torqued down to spec, cotter pins are in, and I don't know if anyone noticed when I showed this the first time, but that end over there was actually upside down. I didn't luckily tighten it down or anything, or try to, and realize that, so I flipped it real quick, and everything is as it should be. Sorry about that noise. So I'm going to take it out and see how it goes. Alright, so fast forward a couple of days. The footage that I took was really bad because it was at night and my camera doesn't do well at night, and then I also didn't film some stuff that I thought I was filming. So what ended up happening was I got out on the road and automatically my steering wheel was turned at 45 degrees, so even though I tried to set it up exactly the same, it wasn't, so the pitman arm wasn't in the right location. That wasn't a big deal. Then as I was driving around a little bit, I did notice I had a little bit of back and forth motion still, which I was expecting, but not quite that bad. So I brought it back into the garage. I adjusted the sleeve to the pitman arm, straightened the steering wheel out, took it back out for a drive, and that took care of everything actually. So the nice thing about all of that is that not only is the side-to-side motion gone, you can see my steering wheel here. I've still got a little bit of a vibration. I think I have some wheels out of balance, but the alignment has improved a little bit as well. I used to have to fight and pull to the one side, and now I don't. This is not the result, or this is not how you fix an alignment. I still need to take it in for an alignment, but that's no big deal. I had to do that anyway, but it did help that overall. They just won't have to probably do as much adjustment when I do bring it in. So now that the tie rods are all in good shape, the drag link is in good shape, when I do take it in for an alignment, they shouldn't say that there's any issues that would prevent them from doing it. So that I'll follow up with in the next probably couple of weeks. But for now, it drives really good, and the little bit of vibration, like I said, that I have is probably from unbalanced tires. At some point, I have had my lift kit on for over 3 years. I've done quite a bit with it, and at some point I am going to have to replace those bushings. I'm sure that there's a little bit going on there as well, but not enough to make me concerned about it or even do anything before I start traveling in May. A lot's going to have to go wrong between now and then for me to tackle that job. But within the next year, I am going to probably order a new bushing kit for the rough country lift that I have. I have a 4.5-inch lift kit on this. I've never had any problems with the bushings eventually do wear out, so that's going to be something I'll do in the future. But anyway, thank you for watching. Appreciate your time. Hit the like or unlike button. Leave your comments below, and I'll talk to you later.